Welcome everybody. So since my unboxing video, I have had a few requests to do a review on the Simagic M10 direct drive wheel. First of all, I just want to say I'm not sponsored by Simagic or anybody for that matter. I purchased this with my own hard-earned cash. Okay, I figured I've had the wheel now for a month and a half, 2 months, so I've had a decent amount of hands-on time. So I thought I would make a video going over why I chose Simagic, how it kind of held up over the last couple months, and the pros and cons that I've found to owning one of these. First of all, it isn't compatible with console. This is a PC only wheelbase, at least for the current time. I know Simagic are working on getting some kind of sponsorship or working on getting some kind of console compatibility happening, but that costs millions of dollars and takes time, so perhaps in the future. But for now, I think this is geared towards PC users. So first thing to talk about is price was one of the factors to me choosing this. Honestly, for the price, I couldn't find anything better. I'm all about the best bang for my buck, quality over quantity. And this wheelbase definitely delivers in that regard. I guess the most comparable products for the price living in Canada would be the Thrustmaster TSPC and perhaps the Fanatic Club Sport 2.5 with shipping and import fees is definitely about the same price, if not actually more than this. So that's where it comes down to. My next choice was build quality. That made a huge impact on my decision. I owned the Thrustmaster TMX and I was getting very annoyed with the creakiness of it and notchiness of it. It just, I don't know, it really felt like a toy. And I wanted something better, something that was closer to a real car, so I could practice in the safety of my house. So the build quality is what sold me on this. The engineering, the design that they went with a more simplistic design, which means less to go wrong. I also like the QR system that they went with. They went with a 10 bearing system instead of a 6, like some others. Everything, as far as materials that they used, is all metal. So you got like aluminum housing, steel, carbon fiber plate on the front and rear. You also have on the wheel carbon fiber plate for your button box. Carbon fiber paddle shifters, as well as magnetic. Okay, one of the biggest things that sold me on this was these button boxes are machined aluminum housings, not plastic injection molded like a lot of other companies are using. So plastic tends to loosen up and bend and creak and make noise over time. And if you're using a direct drive wheel, I just feel like plastic is inadequate to make that connection to the shaft. So again, the simplistic design, less to fail. It's not overcomplicated. It's a very solid design. The quick release, let's see if I can pull it up with one hand here, is literally a 1 second pop on pop off kind of deal. Okay, you have 5 push pins inside to provide power using this Wi-Fi connector thing looking thing. I don't know what you would call that, but provides power to the wheel, and it's 2.4 gigahertz wireless for all of the buttons and everything like that. Okay, so that's what really sold it, is for $1,000 US. I'm getting something that is pretty much all steel, aluminum, carbon fiber, and very minimal amounts of plastic. Okay, so this is definitely going to hold up over time. Again, when I was looking for a wheel, I needed something with a QR system that I could actually remove the wheel quickly and easily, or at least as least painful as possible, because this is also my workstation. Alright, I do all of my PC stuff here too, as well as my sim racing and gaming. So this quick release system, I'm gonna say they have the best on the market right now. It is definitely a true quick release system. 1 second to pull off, 1 second to put on, not even. You can do it mid-race. It doesn't affect anything. You don't have to turn it off and turn it back on to recalibrate it. It's just good to go. Okay. As far as any kind of heat or even sound, well, this thing doesn't have a fan, and it really doesn't need it. I have ran this thing for 6-7 hours at a time, and it's always been cool to the touch no matter where I try. She just remains cool, which is a bonus. And because it doesn't have a fan, it is silent. The only sound you're going to hear from this wheel is when you're turning the wheel quickly like that, or you're using the paddle shifters, which are very tactile. Okay, another issue or concern, I would say, that people are having with this wheel in particular was the notchiness, cogginess. And let's see if I can pull it off here so I can show you. So without the wheel on that, and you're to spin this by hand, you can feel, it feels kind of like steps, you know, hence it's a stepper motor, but it feels high quality. And I kind of went over this in my unboxing with my initial feedback, I guess. But right now, yeah, if you're to spin it by hand like this out of the box, I guess you're not going to have the best impression, but it still feels high quality, like better than a Thrustmaster. The second you stick this wheel on, though, I don't know, the weight of the wheel just helps smooth it out, and it becomes like butter almost. So like I said, I upgraded from a Thrustmaster to this, and all I feel is an upgrade in quality, especially when I'm in game with the force feedback going through it. This thing delivers fidelity and forces that I never knew existed, to be honest with you. So I'm thoroughly impressed in that regard. That's the other reason I went with Simagic, is I decided to go with a direct drive instead of a belt and gear driven system, just because of the parts. At the end of the day, even a high quality belt and gear driven wheel is still rubber and plastic. It's going to stretch and wear out and warp over time and cause noise, and they honestly are noisier, have fans in them. They don't have a true quick release system, so they had a lot of cons going against them, at least for what I was looking for in a wheel. I also wanted something, like I said, that's gonna last quite a while. So yeah, no, the cogginess, it's not an issue, to be honest. That was a concern of mine, and that instantly faded away the second I got this in my hands and I started turning the wheel. I was very impressed and really was excited to see what this thing could do. And I've actually been excited to jump in my rig every day since I've got it, just because it's such an amazing experience and such a step up in quality from my Thrustmaster. As in terms of weight, you're going to need a fairly solid rig, okay. Total weight with the shipping boxes and extra cables and all that was about 39 pounds. Okay, so I think it's about like 33 pounds in total. So you're definitely gonna need something solid to mount it to. Especially the force feedback. I run mine at maybe 50% max, even less when I'm doing drifting and rally games. Because if you were to crank this up, and I tried, it lifts the front end. Like, it's got enough power to twist the frame and lift the front. So more than enough power for the average user, I think. Definitely more than enough for me. I'm never going to use that much. So the extra power, I guess, is reserved for clipping, or lack thereof, because this thing's never going to clip on me. I've never had an issue. I've also never had any issues with the force feedback fading on me over time due to overheating or anything, because this thing doesn't overheat. So this thing just keeps performing. One thing I did have an issue with, not right away, but I noticed a few people have had this issue, and this may have been resolved, but the paddle shifter, when I was racing, in particular when I was making a turn, you kind of pull on these as you're shifting, and it would have a metal on metal rubbing feel and sound. Well, what I ended up doing is removing these two screws here, and there was a pin that went through the top downwards, and then another plastic grommet sleeve that slid over that. All I did was reverse it and put the pin from the bottom up, and then the grommet through the top, screwed it together, tightened the top first and then the bottom, and I haven't had an issue since. And actually the paddle shifts feel even better. And like I said, this isn't really an issue. This is just for the few people that have had this minor concern, but by the looks of it, they've improved it since then, and this isn't an issue. So that's the other thing I'm impressed that sold me on Simagic, is just how involved they are with the community, and just how many improvements and refinements they've made to their product even since they've launched officially. I mean, with every batch I've seen some kind of refinement or improvement. I mean, especially if you look at some of the YouTube videos back in January till now, you can see the changes they've done, and they're constantly improving it. And honestly, they were at a point like when I bought this, that it was good enough that the hardware couldn't really get much better. It would all come down to software as far as pulling out the performance of this thing. Another thing was the power supply. I noticed a lot of these other direct drive wheels come with massive boxes, mini PCs almost, that you have to stick somewhere with a ton of cabling, and this thing just comes with a little power brick with an inline switch for mine. I've seen some YouTube videos recently that they've actually revised and improved the power brick with an even better one now. So even since I bought my wheel, they've made improvements to it. It doesn't give me any cause for concern, and I mean, I'm more than confident that this thing's going to hold up over time. So the other thing that is really good, but also I think needs improvement, is the race manager software. I feel like it's very accessible to the average user, but it also needs some more refinements. I think it's missing a few things to really bring out what this wheel can do. Because like I said, I think the hardware is here. I think they can improve it through software. And honestly, I don't think you're going to find a better stepper motor direct drive wheel for this price without going into a servo motor or paying, double the price. So just to show you how easy it is, this thing literally was plug and play. I plugged it into my PC, it showed up into my controllers, and I was pretty much good to go. But you download Race Manager, which you do load up here. Okay, so there's no lights. And then what you would do is you flick on your base unit, and the lights come on, and then it'll do its little calibration thing, and then we're good to go. Okay, We have a green light. We have a good status. You can always check your system state. Okay, we're all good. Green is good. And as you can see, there aren't a ton of options, but there are enough to refine it to a point that feels good for you. The bottom game effects, those are grayed out right now, but as you launch different games, different effects will come up that you'll be able to adjust. Another good thing about this that I like is how you can have multiple profiles. Not only say per game, but you could have individual car setups per game as well. So that's nice, and it's easy to switch back and forth. As far as compatibility goes, like I said, it's been pretty much plug and play. It's worked with most of the major racing titles, even some old school stuff through emulation, like Mario Kart and Sega Rally and Daytona USA. The only games that really gave me some issue were WRC9 and Project Cars 3, and that's more so with the game not liking multiple pieces of gear using multiple USB ports. I have found a way to circumvent those issues. I will make a video on that, show you guys what I did. There's also a Google Drive link I'm going to put in the description for any Simagic owner or anybody that's just wants to read up on the more technical specs of it. There's manuals for the actual wheel itself along with the base unit. There's files to get, I think it's Dirt Rally 4 and Dirt Rally 2.0 working, as well as 3 different versions of Race Manager software. Because I think some of the older versions had an offline updater, which is handy to have. One thing that I did have an issue with, and this was initially when I hooked it up, plugged it in, I did my calibration with the paddles and everything like it says in the manual to do, which I recommend everybody give a read if you own the wheel. It has some useful information there. But I had noticed when I went up into my calibration here that some of my button inputs weren't registering all the time. Okay, and I had read in the forums that the way to fix that was to change your channel frequency, because this is running wireless, and if you have a lot of different wireless technology in your house, it can interfere. So in your Race Manager 3.5 folder, you're going to have a program called channelset.exe. Okay, when you're going to open that up, and it brings this up. Now it states in the manual you're supposed to connect the wheel via the USB cable to, I think it's the PC or the back of the unit. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I've managed to, just like this, change the frequency successfully. And I've gone through almost all of these, and I have found the sweet spot, at least for me, is 60. Okay, so if anybody's having issues with missed shifts or anything like that, try that frequency, see if that helps. And if that doesn't, try some other frequencies. There are quite a few there. I'm sure they'll find one that can help. Because ever since I changed it to that, I have not had an issue. And like I said, it has worked in pretty much every game I've thrown at it. A few games, it didn't want to register the wheel input because, you know, like most games, you kind of go like this, and you're like, well, what the hell? It's not doing nothing. And what you have to end up doing is spinning the wheel so that it bounces off. And I'll remove the damper so you can see. So, oh, I got a spring effect. Give me a second here. So, yeah, when you're calibrating it, you want it to like bounce off like that, and then it will register. Okay, so that's one trick to getting your wheel to be recognized in some of these games. So yeah, I mean, that's about all I have to say on it. For the price in this range, can't be beat. I'm gonna stick by that. They definitely have the highest build quality for the price. They've incorporated the most recent amount of technology, you know, as far as magnetic shifters, paddles, or wireless technology. You know, you got your LEDs and all that. So they've definitely improved on that. They have a true wireless quick release design, a truly silent bass that doesn't heat up no matter what I do, and just high quality overall, and a great community. I gotta mention that too, because everyone who's gotten involved so far has been excellent, voicing their opinions and helping to shape the future of Simagic. They have discussed an alpha model, which I have said, and they're currently planning on releasing that. I'm not sure when, but fairly shortly. But they've also talked about releasing a whole lineup of products. So, you know, from pedals to shifters to possibly handbrakes even, which I think is pretty insane considering they just launched here back maybe 6 months ago. Not even. Fairly new company. So yeah, no, at the end of the day, I think the only way these guys can really move forward is with your support. They definitely need community support, and I think they've definitely earned it. So check them out, link in the description, and I'll see you guys in my next video.